Tammy Fogel here, your Just an Average Citizen Community Coordinator, bringing you your briefing for the week for this week's City Council meeting. Unfortunately, you get to see my face again because I was unable to attend the media briefing for what the city hosts, because while they are available for me, a non-credentialed media person, to attend, they do not disclose the information about when those dates happen or when those times happen to non-credentialed people. So I can attend it if I can figure out where it's at, but they're not going to help me figure that out for now. So I'll give you my report. If I were watching the directors, I would think this is kind of what they would say. And I think it's not right that the media has access to the directors giving their presentations over the actual City Council agenda without, especially the consent agenda. Now, you know, they do normal presentations through the regular agenda, but there's only a few items there. And so I think it's not right. So that's why I'm doing this, and I'll continue to do it. Hopefully, eventually I'll get back to where I can present the directors. But as a citizen, you should take top priority in making sure you're informed and educated so you can be empowered to do what you need to do here as a citizen in Abilene. Right now, the media is getting firsthand access to this information where you have to dig it up on your own. And so that's me. I'm your liaison to help make it easier. So first of all, we have a presentation, or we won't have a presentation from Communications Director Mari Cockrell because it's on the consent agenda, but she probably would tell the media briefing people that they're actually going to be asking for funding for social media, a Sprout, a social media company who gives them access to help monitor and do what they need to for social media. And that's a 3-year contract for about $49,000 a year. It'll come out of the general fund in the communications and marketing section, I guess. I don't really think there's okay, so now the Director of Water and Utility Division would be Matthew Dane, and he's got several items on the agenda. There's a couple on the consent part, which you, the citizen, don't have his information being presented to him unless City Council does it or a citizen. So they're going to be replacing 2 pumps at Fort Phantom Hill Lake. They're going to be replacing 2 and 3 because 1 and 4 were actually replaced about 5 years ago, and it's going to cost about $200,000. And that's coming out of the Water Utility CIP, or the Capital Improvement Project Fund. So that's money they set aside from the revenues they receive from billing you to use their services. They use that and put it into repairing and replacing things that wear and tear in the process of supplying water to our community. He also is going to bring up a contract for services with Jacob and Martin. That's going to be about, the total project is going to be close to $1.3 million for improvements on I-20 for utility relocation. And then the city is going to have to cough up $300,000 to be able to receive that relocation and the funding. And they can receive up to $12 million for this phase 2 part of the project along I-20. Also, there will be a good announcement, I think, for a presentation. He'll be presenting on Thursday the fact that we're in a good place with water, so we don't need to do water restriction anymore because the threshold has been met for the minimum amount of water in our local lakes. The Director of IT would be Troy Swanson. He would come up and talk about the fact that we are getting some police, you're using Verkada access control camera surveillance at the police department facility through Sigma Surveillance, and that would be coming out of the apparatus fund for $238,000. Also, Troy Swanson will be talking about the professional services to manage the technology projects and initiatives from Computer Task Group. And the max they can spend on that service would be $220,000 from the MIP. So now I believe that takes us close to $1.5 million for services to replace from the cyber attack, to do things for the cyber attack. They believe estimate that it'll be done. They'll have this all rectified or resolved by the 1st of October. And as if you were present for the workshop, you would find that unfortunately, there has been data lost. The water department lost data. They had a rate plan they had researched and prepared that was actually presented, I believe, in the workshop budget retreat, or the budget retreat in January. And unfortunately, they lost that for the 5-year plan, so they're having to go back and get go back to the start and get that all reconfigured so they can actually present it and work the plan that they had. And so that is one casualty we know for sure that has come of this cyber attack. Okay, move to Tim Littlejohn. He's the Director of Planning and Development. He has a couple items on there that are some basic run-of-the-mill stuff for the most part. There's going to actually be the presentation for they're not doing this because this is on the consent agenda, but there's a 2025 through 2029 consolidation plan. It's an action plan and proposed use of the Community Development Block Grant, which is known as the CDBG funds. And then also the Home Investment Partnership Program, which is called the Home Funds. So one helps people rehab their house if they're in a certain demographic or have limitations to funding. And then the other one helps them get into homes, I believe. And so they're both federally funded programs. We just kind of, as a city, we monitor them. And there's a very interesting study that I would highly encourage you to look through that the Community Foundation of Abilene put together and reached out to over 400 of their partners to survey the demographic needs of our city and what our poverty level looks like. There's a great map on where our poverty is mostly located, and it is very located. It's localized in one area. And I think it's good for us to look at that. So check that out and look forward to, well, we're not going to hear about it at the meeting because it's on the consent agenda. All right. Then number 9 is the plan development adjustment for its PDD or PPD. All right. Oh my gosh, I forgot what that's called. The PDD 52. It is a CUP, which is a conditional use permit. Sorry, my little brain fart there, and I probably did it wrong. It's a freight container. Those are coming up all over town. So this is probably the 4th or 5th one that's been requested to be allowed to be temporarily, or it's allowed to be a conditional use permit. Gives them special permission to have something that's normally not allowed, which is the permit, the freight. And that is on Royal Mesa Drive. There's a retail shops that one of those is going to actually use that CUP or the conditional use permit. And then number 10 is also another CUP for freight container being stored on East South 11th. And then number 11 is they're going to rezone 21 acres from general retail to multifamily on Memorial Drive. So that may be the second group of multifamily homes going in that area. Let's see here. We also have a zone change for the PPD. That's what it is. Planned development. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. I'm having a brain fart there. Okay. I can't get it. On FM 2404, that's with the AI Center. Lansing, I believe, is trying to make sure their buffer zones are correct, and they have those correct. And so they're asking for a zone change to configure in some property that wasn't actually annexed or included in the first round. And it's just, as I think Tim Littlejohn would be to say, just some code cleaning up some of the code or the code of ordinance or the city code and making sure everything's up to snuff. Okay. All right. Then Stanley Smith has quite a few items on this, and I think this is something to pay attention to. Let's see. We have the BYOB beverage ordinance, or bring your own beverage ordinance. It is for the establishments that have that policy, and there has been some changes to it. And they're presenting a first reading of this, and that is good. So there's community, and it allows for community to make public comments or to reach out to your city council, and let them know how you feel about this, how it affects your business, and what your thoughts on are that. And then of course, then to go with that is number 15 is also amending a fee to allow for this permit to take place. And then we have, I believe while this is labeled as Shauna Atkinson, she's the secretary to the city secretary. I do believe if I was at this media briefing, the city manager would be presenting this. We have two different boards that have appointments going on. We have a reappointment of Rosendo Contreras. Is that right? Contreras. And then we have 2 new appointments on the Landmark Commission. So I'm glad they're filling up that board because it's, I guess, been empty. And we're not made aware of when those vacancies are available for us to apply. So if you're wanting to apply, then you gotta know who to talk to because they're not publicly, they're not allowed. They don't tell us when they happen until they appoint the people. So Derek Hood and Josh Black are being appointed to the Landmarks Commission. Misty Mayo of the DCOA, which is the Development Corporation of Abilene. And there was, I believe in the early 90s, is that right? Or maybe a little later than that, they approved a certain small, like 3 cents for every tax dollar collected to be used on improving the different corporations that are connected to Abilene. And so they present a budget because it is tax dollars being used. They have an economic development plan where they have indicated in their material that 1 in 3 jobs they have played a key role in getting in Abilene, which sounds pretty significant. And then also they have funded in 20, they'll talk about their budget and just some of the quick, I would say, this is what I would think they would highlight for the media if I was there. I don't know. I've never heard Misty Mayo talk to the media before. And again, I'm not allowed to go because they won't tell me where the location is. But if I knew where it was, it would be fun for me to be there. So kind of funny. So they actually are changing just a little bit of revenue. They're having a revenue change in the upcoming fiscal year of $57,000, which is it's 0.31%. And then they also have an operating expense change of almost $700,000. And their budgeted revenues are almost $19 million. Their operating expenses are about $8 million. And their incentives and capital expenditures are about $10 million, which gives them a balanced budget. So that is your Just an Average Citizen community briefing for the city council meeting that's happening this Thursday, July 24th at the city council chambers at 8:30 a.m. in the morning. Hope to see you there or watch online if you're not able to attend in person. Until next time.